What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with RotaryCraft. Now today, guys, we're going to continue messing around with ReactorCraft, and we're actually going to build upon the turbine that we worked on last episode, which means we're going to need to generate some steam today. So we're going to be working with the High-Temperature Gas Reactor, which some of you might know as a Pebble Bed Reactor. Now the main reason behind that is because we're actually going to be centralizing it around a block that is going to be called the Pebble Bed Reactor core. So if you do look in the ReactorCraft manual, it is going to be right below the power gen, which is what we worked with last time. It is the HTGR, which stands for the High-Temperature Gas Reactor, and that is going to be using the Pebble Bed Reactor core and the carbon dioxide heat exchanger. So the main idea behind this is we are going to be putting fuel in the reactor core, and we're going to be using that to heat up the carbon dioxide heat exchanger, and that is going to allow us to take regular carbon dioxide, turn it into heated carbon dioxide, then put that into a regular heat exchanger and use that to get the steam boiler going. So there is a lot that we're going to need to craft today, and a lot of this stuff over here is the Trizo fuel pellets. I think I'm saying that right. Not sure, but most of the time that I've spent crafting stuff and gathering stuff has been making the CDIN-AG alloy ingots, and we'll cover that in a second, and then the Trizo fuel pellets. The rest of this stuff's actually pretty cheap. It is a lot cheaper than the setup for last episode, but obviously they're going to work together, so that is that. So what we need to do is start crafting things because we do have a lot to get through. Now, pretty much this is all we're going to require for crafting, and I guess I can come up and grab the fuel pellets later. So, the first thing that we're going to be making is going to be the heat exchanger. So, that is going to be right here, and it is going to require a little bit of power. We can easily get this power. We can actually get double this power at the same speed coming from a steam engine, so that's what we're going to be using for this. The only annoying part is that you need to put power in the bottom of it. But that's what we're going to be using to heat up the steam boiler. So this is just going to require 4 cooling fins, 2 liquid pipes, 2 gold, and an impeller. Relatively cheap. The next thing that we're going to be making are going to be the carbon dioxide heat exchangers. We're going to be using 2 of these. Now, one thing that I want to point out, and I'm only going to craft 2 of them. We do have enough to craft more, but that's just because we have leftover things from recipes that we're going to be working on in a second. But one thing I want to point out, and I'll mention this later and go more in depth, is that the Pebble Bed Reactor, or the High-Temperature Gas Reactor, has been nerfed a ton. So it requires a lot more effort than it did previously to actually get it working. So I have not seen a definitive, this is the best setup, but this is the one that I've been able to get and maintain enough steam to run one turbine. It's really easy to set up, it's relatively compact. So I'm not going to be automating it today just because it is a little bit more complicated to automate when you don't have Ender IO or Applied Energistics, but I'm going to manually put it in. We're going to get it running. I'll show you the setup, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to use it, but I want to make sure I at least show you guys a usable setup. So the next thing that we're going to be working on, and this is where most of the rest of the stuff is going to go, is the actual Pebble Bed Reactor core. So right now we're using 2 carbon dioxide heat exchangers, and we're going to be using 16 Pebble Bed Reactor cores. So this is going to be a double level thing. It's going to be pretty much a 3x3x2 setup. So it's going to be 16 Pebble Bed Reactor cores all heating up 2 carbon dioxide heat exchangers. So for this, we are going to need fuel canisters, and that's where the CDIN-AG alloy ingots come in, and that's pretty much just going to be the cadmium, indium, and silver combined to make this. So pretty much just whip out the blast furnace setup with 1500 degrees Celsius. I did cover that in a previous video, how to get to that using, I want to say it was the frictional heater and a gas engine turbine. Gosh, I can't even remember now, but pretty much just pull that setup out and get this going. It takes a little bit to heat up, but it can easily get there. And yeah, just gather these up, and you get 3 for each, so it's actually not that expensive. It's pretty much just the regular blast furnace setup that's going to take a little bit to get to. So we're going to make those, and nope, we need to be in the regular crafting table for this. So we're going to be making a fair bit of those because we're going to be making 16 of the Pebble Bed Reactor cores. So now we can hop back over here. Oh, whoops. Man, I'm so bad with this. Okay, here we go. So this is where a lot of the steel is going. It's going to take a stack of steel per each set of these. So these are also horribly annoying to craft. So I guess I can just grab them like this. No shift clicking. That is a little bit annoying. But we have fuel cores. And now we're going to be dumping even more hoppers, more base panels. So it's really a lot of iron. Some of it's turned into steel. The rest is used for hoppers. But yep, we can grab these all out of here. We should be left with 16 for 8, 2 high ones. And the rest of this stuff is just going to be the fuel. Now the fuel does take a little bit to get, but it's actually not that difficult. it pretty much is just, you know, a little time consuming. So I think I'm going to drop that stone right there. Let's see if I can stick it anywhere, if we have any. There we go. We can grab this out of here. Do I have any more stone in here? No, I do not. Okay, so we will head downstairs, and there is one other thing that I want to talk about real quick, which is right here. So this is the gas collector. It's actually pretty cool. Kind of a bland color, but other than that, I think it's pretty awesome. So pretty much what you do is, instead of using the frictional heater setup over there in the furnace, you're going to need a regular furnace with some coal in it. I am cooking down more coal, just because, and that's pretty much going to allow us to generate carbon dioxide gas. Now the carbon dioxide gas is obviously what we're going to be using with the carbon dioxide heat exchanger, because it's very easy to transfer heat using that, and this is the only way to get it. So pretty much this is just going to sit on top of the furnace. It does kind of come down over it. It looks a little bit like a chimney almost. Use a gas duct and put it into a reservoir. So we're pretty much just going to put this into the system, and it's going to cycle through repeatedly, getting heated, then getting cooled, heated again. So it's similar in IC2 to the coolant when we were using that in the reactor. Oh my gosh, I hate this. Okay, so this is one thing that I like to complain about when I'm using the reservoirs, is that right here you can see that it's not actually a hitbox right here, even though it should be. So right here is a hitbox, so we can break that. But yeah, that's one gripe I have when it comes to using these, and it looks like we're gonna have to drop something else right now. Oh gosh, I was not planning on having to do this. Okay, so I want to keep the stone on me. You know what? We'll drop the lubricant hoses for now. I will come back up for those in a minute, just because we need to make a little bit of room. Okay, so we'll come down here. Setup from last episode. I did change a couple things down here. I did move the condensers up one, and we'll see why in a second, or not a second, but we'll see later in the video. Pretty much the steam is going to hit down at the block below that shaft right there, and then it's going to be drawn up into these. It's going to pretty much just be funneled up into these. We shouldn't be losing any steam. It does make things pretty weird. It makes things bug out, especially like the turbines and things like that. This whole setup will start glitching out if we let it get into the atmosphere, but luckily once it dissipates then and gets, you know, out of it, then the issue's gone. So it doesn't totally screw up your world permanently, but it is a little bit annoying. So a couple other things that I did. I have this setup down here, which is a steam engine. It's got a bevel gear going into the pressurizer, which is also hooked up to, obviously it's hooked up to the condensers up there, but it's also hooked up to another pump setup in there just to assist with the water that we're going to be needing for the steam boiler, which is eventually going to be placed right here, just because I want to make sure that we're going to be having a steady stream of water in there. Even this might not be enough, but I think it should be okay. So what we're going to do right now is start setting up in this area right over here. So we don't have much room to work with in this general area, just because we have the blaze farm over there, we have the mine below us, and I do have to work around these things a little bit. Eventually I'm going to expand that direction, but the main idea is going to be we're going to put down, I think we should put down stone bricks just in case I need to switch things up a little bit, but we're going to be working in this area right here, and I guess I should put it up one, and we will see why in a bit. So we'll go like this, and I'm going to break these just to get it back. Now you'll notice a lot of these items are getting sucked. That's because there's an item vacuum like right over here for the blaze farm. But yeah, we're going to want this to be covered like so. So like that. Gonna have to find some new placements for torches, and like this. Now the main reason you're going to want to do this, you have to, is because you need to insulate the system. So when you have a block there, it's going to allow it to insulate it. Even pipes allegedly work as insulation because they kind of count as a full block. I would rather just keep regular stone bricks here, but what we're going to be doing now, because this is too high, is starting out with the Pebble Bed Reactors. And these are going to go all around the outside of this. So like this. And you can see they do connect. The nice thing is going to be we can drop things in from the top, and it'll drop all the way down to the bottom. These do have a UI inside. When you click on them, they're going to be able to hold the fuel pellets, the Trizo fuel pellets. So when I drop them in up here, they'll drop to the one below it and then fill up the top one. You can see it lists temperature. That's because these are going to be heating up, and then heating, of course, the carbon dioxide heat exchangers, which are going to go right in the center. If I could place it down correctly, so that's going to go there, and this is going to go here. Now I'm going to quickly run upstairs and grab the lubricant hose, just because I don't want to lose those. because I'm lazy. I don't feel like crafting anymore. Then we can come back down here. Not going to be using those a ton. We already have the lubricant hose on the front there, and I should be able to grab the reservoir before we actually start using this to fill it up a little bit more. This is not very full right now. Okay, but we need to continue working on this setup. So I mentioned this before, and I'm going to quickly breeze over it right now. I'm not going to automate this episode. Eventually I will automate it, and I'll probably do, another episode specifically on that, but right now I'm not going to do that just because it is a little bit more complicated. I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be, pretty time consuming to actually set this up, in my opinion, because I am only working with pretty much ElectriCraft, ReactorCraft, and RotaryCraft, which don't have that many great options, unlike Ender.io, Applied Energistics, things like that, which can easily have things sorted and put into, all the Pebble Bed Reactors. The only nice thing is that these Pebble Bed Reactors will only allow things to be sent out of them if they're depleted fuel pellets. So you're not going to have to worry about filtering out the regular fuel pellets and not pulling those out. But still, it is going to be a little difficult. So I'm not going to drop them in just yet because I don't want this to start heating up until it's actually set up. What we're going to do now is get this gas duct, and we're going to hook it up here, and then, you know what, we can bring it over here. We're not going to bring it over this way. We're going to bring it over this side right here, hook it up like that, and then the bottom one should be, that should be the correct block right there. Yeah, it should be in the center. Okay, so that should be hooked up right there, and then we're going to go like this. And pretty much this is where we are going to be placing the heat exchanger. So this is interesting just because we have to kind of go, I guess we got to go like this actually. So we're going to have to kind of work it around a little weird and make it like this and like that, because as you can see, it's going to be getting power from the bottom. So if we take a look in the book at the heat exchanger, whoops, it is under power gen heat exchanger. It takes hot fluid in the top and cools it down, transferring the fluid's heat into any adjacent machinery, including standard boilers. So that's where our steam boiler is going to go, and it requires power to force the fluid through. The fluid can be drawn out the sides. So we're going to be drawing out the cooled stuff down here, sending it back through the carbon dioxide heat exchanger, and pulling out the heated ones up there. But we do need to have the steam generator, or the steam engine, working over here with a bevel gear. Now this is a little bit away from this water over here. I was planning on having it on this side, but that was when I was planning a different setup. So we're going to have to throw down a bevel gear here, and it's going to be going from east and then up. So east and then up. And I am going to break this right here and grab these out and kind of, I guess we can just send it right through here. Got to get more torch placement going. Send it through right here. Again, not the most optimized way of setting this up, but it's just how I'm doing it because of the, restrictions we have around this room in general. So might have wanted to dig it a little bit deeper before I started building, but pretty much too late now, so there's no turning back. So we can hook this up. Now that it's got some water going into it, I can start the fire below it with some netherrack and flint and steel. There we go. Fill that hole in so we don't fall in there. Okay, so that torch is going to bother me so badly. Is there any way I can get to that? You know what? I'm breaking this stone just to get to that. Okay. Fill that in. Fill all this in. Okay, so what's going on right now is pretty much... yeah, so we have the water going right here that's got the steam engine running, and that's going to heat up. And then right here we need to hook up a steam boiler, which is what we have this whole setup here for. So this is going to be getting water for our steam boiler because we need to be inputting... oh, you know what? This water was supposed to go to the steam boiler. This water right here was supposed to go to that. Okay, so I do need to rewire this a little bit again. That was my bad. I just wasted a lot of stuff. Okay, so this needs to get broken right here. This should have more than enough water in it to sustain that. Okay, so this gets filled in. Again, such a waste of stone. And then this water is going to go over here to the steam boiler, and this water is going to go to this engine right here. Darn it. Okay. Okay, we got it, guys. Don't worry. We made it there eventually. Okay, so this kind of needs to wind around over here. Yeah, okay. So there we go. That is going into the steam engine. That should still be fine. This is going to be giving us more water because it's got the pressurizer. So this is what we're actually going to want to have going to the... I'm going to fill that in too. This is what we're going to have going to the steam boiler because that's going to use up a lot more water. And this is still going to have to get brought over here for the steam boiler, which is going to go right next to this heat exchanger. So let's get that set down. So that's going to go right there. And now we can take this, and if we look in the ReactorCraft handbook, again under power generation and then steam boiler, first one there, pretty much going to absorb heat from the surrounding machines, boil internal liquids to steam. So you don't want to let it accumulate. And then it's got some ammonia details, liquid input in the bottom, steam output at the top. So this can just come right over there. You can see it's got a 12 bucket internal tank, temperature of 17 degrees Celsius. And then we've got these 30 steam lines, which, give me back that stone. Okay, so these are going to be run from the top, and this is going to be brought over here. Pretty much just going to follow the same path that we have the water running on, and get it connected over there. So I'm going to run it through here. And, oh great, another torch in the way. Okay, let's replace that below it, and get this over here. Okay, so there we go. Awesome. So the steam should be good to go over here, and it should be ready to start spinning this once we have it being produced. So I think for the most part, this is ready to go. Now I just need to cover up the bottom. Eventually, you would want to keep the bottom open on this setup just because, or not open, but you wouldn't want to have solid blocks there solely because you would want to have it covered with things that are going to allow you to pull out the depleted fuel pellets. So I will worry about that later. The main idea is just a proof of concept for you guys. I don't think I'm going to be using this that much. But yeah, we're going to want to cover all of these. I'm actually going to cover all of this area down here. I'm going to break these and break that so it hopefully gets drawn to me. Yeah, so I'm going to cover this whole area. I don't think the corner blocks matter, but just to be safe, I want to make sure that it's all covered. Don't need to worry about that right there. Okay, so that's good to go. That's good to go. It's a little awkward trying to get all of this, so we don't need that one. And then we fill these in. The gas duct should count as blocks for this, so right there. Gas duct is going to go right there, and we need to fill in right here, and I used up my stone, so we'll just put cobblestone down there below it, and cobblestone, and then we can fill this in with stone brick. And there should be a little bit of stone brick over here that wasn't supposed to go there. Yep, right there. There we go. And now we got to cover up the top. So pretty much just encasing this whole thing. I'm going to build around the outside right now. And then we are going to have to cover the center once we fill this up. It is a little annoying to fill up though. So we should have enough, just enough to actually cover this. Yeah, we'll have one extra. So what we're going to do is shift click in these fuel pellets right here. And we're going to let it go down. And then we're going to shift click in more fuel pellets and fill it up. So shift click them in. I guess I can go all the way around and then circle back through just because we want to get these in here and cover it up as quickly as possible. So get those in there. And I don't even know if we're going to have enough to completely fill these up, but yeah, okay, so there we go. That one should be good. There we go. It took me forever to craft these, so I'm not looking forward to having to actually make a huge stockpile of them to automate this, but is that enough? Okay, so we had a little bit less than enough to do this, but luckily we can see it's heating up. This whole thing should heat relatively quickly, especially once it's covered. So it's at 270 degrees Celsius. Now while that's heating, we are going to get some carbon dioxide down here in this bottom pipe. So what we can do is put it needs to go in this one right here, so we can actually just hook it up. I'll put this right here. We can put that down, and then we can break it. And that should be more than enough. We can get the angular transducer out, make sure that that's good to go in there. Yeah, so that's more than enough for that. And once this gets to 800 degrees Celsius, it should start running. You can see it does have carbon dioxide in it, so that's going to be 12 buckets. I want to say it's 12 buckets per. It does take a little bit to heat up, but it is, pretty good at maintaining the heat. And the minute it starts working, you're going to see heated carbon dioxide coming through here. And we should have this whole setup over here running. So, what is it at right now? 705 degrees Celsius, 713. So it's pretty much just going to keep going up very slowly. I'm interested in seeing this setup running and making sure that we don't have any steam coming out. Okay, so we have the dynamometer blocked right there. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see it, but okay, so this whole setup is running now. It should be producing steam. I want to say assuming this is running. If it's running fast enough, that is. Okay, so the question from me right now is this getting water fast enough? Because this should have... Okay, so this has some steam in it. It's hooked up over here, but it isn't... Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's running. You can see the system is running. The steam is getting caught up there. It's going into these. These are putting out the low pressure. It's going into this down here, which is... should be turning it into regular water then. Yep, so the whole thing is running, and let's take a look at what this is. Can we see the power in general that this is producing if I right click on it? So it is producing 58.9 megawatts. And then, okay, so the steam stopped running, so that is... So, okay, so it's slowing down now because we don't have any more steam going into it. I'm curious why. Huh. What's going on up here? Okay, so it is still producing carbon dioxide. Huh. But this is at a very low temperature. Hopefully the system... I've heard that adding too much carbon dioxide backs up the system, so I am not completely sure. I might try breaking some of these. This is going to lose a lot of carbon dioxide doing that. Okay, so that looks like it did help. Yeah, okay, so you want to make sure you don't have too much carbon dioxide in there. That was a perfect example of it. I have heard, though, that having too much carbon dioxide is bad in that system because it can back it up. But now you can see this thing's starting to kick on. It'll get way higher than this in terms of power generation. Look at that. Significantly higher than anything else that we've used before. Right now it's at 300 megawatts at an absurd speed. At least without, you know, being put through gearboxes. And it's just going to keep going. And this system should be good to continuously run. This thing is at a really high temperature. It looks like, honestly, if we had another pump setup, this would be going even faster because it's not filling up the internal tank. It's actually using as much as it can. So this is at 7... It's looking like it's roughly at 800 megawatts right now, which is as high as I've seen this whole setup get for at least this one. But yeah, so that is the High-Temperature Gas Reactor, HTGR, Pebble Bed Reactor, whatever you guys want to call it. Obviously, you know, there are better setups, or I at least think there are better setups, but this is the one that I went with today. Relatively easy to set up, easy to understand, at least get the basic idea down. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to give it a like, because it does help me out a lot. Or if you found it informative or entertaining in any way, any of those things. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later.